Hi, and welcome back to my YouTube channel. Sorry for the audio. I'm using the on-screen camera on my iMac, which is a little bit less quality. But I thought I'd try and cover a couple of bases today. Maybe I should split them up, but maybe not. One of the things I've been wondering about is whether people today who are doing wedding photography are missing out on some things by the technology they're using and also by the packages they're offering. What I've noticed is that a lot of wedding videographers are adding Super 8 shots to their films, to their packages, and people are loving it, even though they're only short videos, 3-minute videos and whatever. Quality is not so great, but people are liking that old-fashioned feel. And there's a lot of interest in film photography these days, particularly by young people. So I'm wondering whether you wedding photographers out there, and some of you probably already are offering an extra package, an extra supplement to your offering as a wedding photographer, usually using digital cameras, of course, by offering some film shots as well. Back in the days when I used to shoot film, I used to shoot mainly 35mm, but I'd offer as an extra shooting on medium format. I'd do a few rolls of medium format too. Some people would take me up on that, and that would bring in some value added, and I'd charge more, and people would pay me more for the whole package. So I'm wondering whether people who are shooting weddings should be offering some film as part of their offering. And see how you go. I reckon there'd be some interest out there, and probably some people are already doing it, and some people I know shoot only film. But I think there are advantages and disadvantages to shooting film and only film and only digital. If you're shooting digital, you've got all the goodies of the digital world. You've got variable ISO, you've got all your different settings, you can do all the post stuff and whatever. And there's a lot to be said for that. In shooting with film, though, it's got a different look, and you can tell. Well, I can anyway. Quite often, when I look at my photos and I look at other people's photos, and I think, wow, you know, there are times when you could be using film as well, but I wouldn't just shoot film these days as a wedding photographer. I would shoot a bit of both or offer both. One of the other things I've noticed also is, and which I want to tackle here today as well, is that a lot of modern wedding photographers are using, they're not using fill flash, which I used to use quite often. I'll put a link underneath here about a post I did on my use of flash as I developed it over the years. But there are some situations where I think fill flash is called for. You can do a certain amount of stuff in post-production, but it takes you a lot of time. And the idea is that you should always, in my opinion, be aiming to get things right in the camera and not relying on, you know, oh, well, we'll fix it in Photoshop or something like that. Think about what you're doing. So I'm going to talk a little bit about fill flash after this and show you some examples. I'm just working out how to do this using a Zoom, recording myself on Zoom and showing you some of the, what am I talking about? Some of the shots that I've got here on the screen. Now, it says here I'm recording this on using my Camo app on iPhone, but that's not true. So just ignore that. I don't think I'm doing that. I can see myself on the screen, but I think I'm recording you on the camera on the iMac. Anyway, where was I? So one of the things I'm talking about as far as the fill flash is concerned is that you can have a very bright background and some people in the foreground, and there might be bright light behind them, or the sun's behind them, and you've got nice rim lighting. But if you take that without fill flash, then you have to manipulate things afterwards to get a balance between a good lighting on the couple in front, or the group photo in front, as against, and balance it with what's in the background. And that's where you skillfully can use fill flash and not have to worry about all the stuff you do in post-production. So I'm going to show you some samples of what I used to do and how I used fill flash. The first couple I'm going to show are actually taken with I think a Canon 600D or a 700D. So we'll see what that looks like. and then we'll yeah, I'll just talk my way through some of these shots as I show them to you and explain what my thinking was. And hopefully you'll find this interesting. This is my first time having a crack at doing this picture-in-picture thing on Zoom. I was going to use it on ScreenFlow, but then that was getting a bit complicated and I didn't have the fully paid up version. So anyway, what we're going to do now, we're going to share the screen. And if I get here, let's have a look. I think I've got them down here. Share the screen, maybe that's that one there. Share. Where are they? Here we go. So I'm going to share these here now. And here we go. Hopefully you can see that now, and I can see that myself is up in the top right-hand corner. So that's a good sign, because that's what's supposed to happen. And I'll just be talking my way through some of these shots for you. And hopefully it'll work. So this is probably the last full wedding I did about 4 years ago, I reckon now, because I'm getting old, I don't do it anymore. I've got too many physical ailments. It's too strenuous doing wedding photography when you get up a bit and you've got lots of issues. However, this was a lovely wedding, but it was down at the beach at Glenelg Beach, or West Beach, I think it was, in Adelaide. And I didn't have too many places where I could get some nice shade and nice even lighting. I had very bright sunshine. It was in the afternoon, it was quite warm. And I wanted to have the sea in the background. And so I thought, well, and you can see from the shadow on the right there that of the bushes that the sun is coming right from behind them. So in these situations, you get a bit of rim lighting. But if I was to take that without full flash, just using the camera, I'd have to play around a fair bit to actually try and balance that the scene in the background with the scene in the foreground. I might end up with quite dark people, and then I'd have to lighten them up somehow. And there are new programs, I think, in Lightroom where you can actually do this, isolate the group and just change them and leave the background the same. However, that's a lot of work. So I shot this with a, I think my Canon 600 or 700D with the 430 EX flash just sitting on top of the camera. And that's what it came out like. It's not too bad. And then here's another view going back a bit. There you go. You can see once again where that light's really coming from there. Now with all these shots, of course, when you've got to watch your horizons in these, but you can always alter the horizon quite easily afterwards and make it straight. And in this previous shot back here, you can see I had a pole coming out of the guy's head there on the right, and you could easily get rid of that using your post processing, but I didn't spot that at the time. But anyway, you can fix that afterwards. So we come back here, and then here's a close-up I did of the couple, and a couple of things about this. The colour's a bit off, and it's a bit orangey, and it was a hot day, and he's got a suit on. It was quite warm down there, and when you've got people out in the heat like that, you don't want to keep them out there for too long. That's why I like shooting wedding stuff where I've got some shade and some protection from the elements, because people will perspire a bit and you get that glistening look, which could be better. This wedding was shot on film many years ago now in Wandillagong in Victoria. And once again, I was doing a family shot and I spotted this terrific lighting in the background, and I want to make sure that, the backlight, the rim light that's coming through there, you can see where the shadows are coming from on the left there. And I wanted to use my full flash there. So I was probably using my Metz 45 there, flash. I'm pretty sure I was shooting it on film. In these series of shots, I won't show them all to you, but the dog was quite a feature. He was not doing what he was supposed to be doing, and everyone was having a good laugh at times about what the dog was up to. This is a similar situation where there was all the group of a lot of the people, I think they were pretty much two lots of families and friends there at a wedding in the Adelaide Hills. And once again, I wanted to balance the background with the foreground. And it was quite a bright afternoon. You can see where the light's coming from behind again, of course, and probably in the background there, it was about an f8 or an f16 setting to make sure I had a good exposure on that. So I pumped using my METS 45 flash around about f8's worth or f16's worth of flash into the foreground to process that, and I quite like that. It makes it pop out. That's back to the other one in Wandillagong, smaller group, but you can see the idea of using fill flash. And you've got to ask yourself, well, how would I tackle these when I'm using an SLR, sorry, a digital SLR or mirrorless camera? And this is the same wedding, and not far from Wandillagong, about 10 minutes out of there, there's this beautiful row of poplars. Unfortunately, it wasn't autumn, so I couldn't get the autumn colours, but I knew we'd be getting some nice lighting down there. So once again, I was using fill flash there, and you can get the rim lighting. I took a lot of nice shots down there in a brief time. This is another wedding in the Botanical Gardens in Adelaide, where I was using that effect again with the backlighting. And this one here was up at Carrick Hill in Adelaide, which is a popular spot for weddings. It's an old mansion up there, up on the foothills. It overlooks Adelaide. Got beautiful views and gardens up there. But all the weddings are taken under this big tree, which offers a lot of shade. They're all outdoor weddings that they have up there. And when you look, and I've got the house, the mansion behind me, and it's got very big orange walls, and you get a lot of light reflecting off of that. So if you're shooting back that way, you've got a lot of light that you're trying to deal with in the background and balance the foreground. And when you're shooting this way, back the other way, there's also bright light there. So I was opting to use flash here as well. And this was shot on film, and I quite like the idea of capturing all the confetti on the flash as well. And then there's another one, another variation of the same thing. And then when the confetti settled, I took another shot there. I reckon I was, and that's using fill flash, I reckon I was probably standing up on my little step ladder there to get that shot. Once again, this is another shot where I was using the fill flash, and that's what it looked like without the fill flash. Now, in some situations, it's not bad either way, because you're getting a lot of light reflecting off of the footpath on the left-hand side there. That's reflecting back up into the people. So it's not such a bad situation where I really needed to use fill flash there. This was a situation where in today's modern age, your digital technology comes in handy, because it was getting quite dark, and I was probably shooting on about a 400 ASA or ISO film. And a lot of these shots here, when it was getting dark, I had to put the camera on a tripod and bring the shutter speeds down so I could try and get some of the background illuminated, and then light them with the flash in the front. Similarly, this one here, it was really dark when I took these, and I slowed the shutter speed right down and asked the people to stay very still while I took the photo. They didn't come out too bad, but you could do that easily with a digital camera these days because of your high ISO, and you would get a nice shot. But see how slow the shutter I had there, because the guy sitting down, he's moved his hand, and his hand's blurred because of the slow shutter speed. Once again, a big family group, and I chose to use fill flash to fill that one too, and I think that's quite effective. That's getting back to that other wedding again. We'll get past that, and this is some fill flash here of a wedding party. Works quite well. They were in quite deep shade, but you can see how the background is quite evenly matched with the foreground as far as the exposure is concerned. This is going back to the one where it was getting quite dark, and that was a very wet afternoon that afternoon. So these are all the spectators, some of them getting wet. And I used fill flash quite effectively there to get a good exposure. And that's looking the other way. That's what they were looking at, where the wedding was taking place. And it was pouring down with rain, and I was getting quite wet, actually, looking back the other way. Now, these are some shots that I've taken on a very stormy afternoon. And I think I was using the part on, it was a filter you had on Photoshop back in those days, where you could actually add some fill flash to it afterwards. And see that one there, it's quite dramatic how that one's come in. The original shot was more dark than that. So I used that. I don't know whether you can still do that anymore. And I think I was, I think looking at the light in her eyes, I think I'm using some fill flash there. This was shooting with a Canon 400D, I think I was using there. And that's a shot of my young niece from some years back, just using a little pop-up flash on my camera. I think I don't know what I was using then. It was a digital SLR, but just using it with beautiful sunset. I just sat there for about 3/4 of an hour taking this gradually changing sunset. And she came down there, and I thought, that makes a great photo. Can you just sit there? And that's just using a little pop-up flash on top of the digital SLR. These are some shots over in Western Australia at Rockingham Beach. And once again, you see, I wasn't using flash on that shot, and then the background's a bit washed out. So I thought, I want to change that. So I had my Metz 45. I was using my Canon 400D for the first time in a wedding, actually. So I had the Metz 45 stuck on that. And so I bounced off the ceiling with that. And that's what I got. See the background's good. And those shots really pop now. There's some more. Whereas when you go back to the other one there, see the difference that you can see there now? Okay, I think I'll wrap it up. These are some shots just taken inside of a wedding. Inside, I'm bouncing flash off the ceiling there, my assistant down there. When I said I'll wrap it up, I must be getting close to it. That's a backyard wedding where there wasn't too many places I could do a big group shot, but once again, I chose to pump the flash into the foreground there. And I think that's a good place to stop there. So we'll stop sharing. We come back to me, and I'm going to end this. So once again, thanks for watching, and I hope you've enjoyed that. And I'll see you next time. Like if you like, subscribe if you wish, and keep up the good work. So now I've got to work out how to do this. This is the first time I've ever done this using Zoom to record myself and my little instructional video. So I'm going to end it. I'm going to leave the meeting.